So you do have the ability to enable captions. If you can't see that at the bottom of your screen, there's the more options, and then there'll be the ability to enable captions there. As Christoph and I speak, we'll do our best to use plain language, but if we use jargon, or please call us on that and ask us to explain anything that isn't clear. I will be presenting, sharing my screen and showing you what Accessible Surveys looks like, both from the perspective of someone responding to a survey, but also for building a survey. So I'll do my best to describe what's being presented on the screen. And we are recording the webinar, so that recording is available if you would like to view it afterwards. So just to explain the structure, the first part is really going to be a demo showing you what we've built with Accessible Surveys. And then the second half of the webinar is going to be an opportunity for you to ask questions and potentially have a broader conversation around the challenges and opportunities of collecting data that counts everyone in. Christoph and I, we really have two aims from the webinar ourselves. Is to really, we're just starting to get the word out about accessible surveys. So webinars is part of that, but we're also interested to start building our relationships and networks with people who share our passion and commitment to inclusive and accessible data. So that's just a little bit about the webinar. We'll start just with some personal introductions. So Christoph, do you want to come off mic and introduce yourself?
Yeah, with pleasure. So I'm Christophe, based in France, in Lyon. My role within Accessible Survey is basically lead the development of the tool. So that implies, talking to my computer, but it also implies listening a lot to what people using the application are telling us, and making sure that what we build really makes sense for people using the application. My background is in physics, but I spent part of my career in development work, UN agencies, small and large NGOs, government, in different roles, but also building information management systems. And what else? Well, I've been confronted with accessibility issues since my very young age. So I'm committed to really making sure that everyone can use what we try to build. So that's it in a nutshell.
Great, thanks, Christoph. So to introduce myself, my name's Jerry. I'm based in London. My role with Accessible Surveys is really everything which isn't to do with coding and actually developing the product. So that's primarily around supporting customers who are running surveys on the platform, reaching out to people to let them know that we exist, and crucially building partnerships around the platform, particularly with organizations of persons with disabilities, so that we can really get their continuous input and feedback as we develop the platform. I think it's fair to say that we approach the whole area of digital accessibility with quite a lot of humility, recognizing it's a journey, and central to that is involving persons with disabilities in the process. So that's a little bit of introductions to Christoph and myself. What I'd like to do before I show you Accessible Surveys, I would just like to get a bit of a feel for who's on the call today and your experience of using survey tools. So I'm just going to share a very short poll with you. It's just going to be 4 quick questions about your experiences of using surveys. So I'm going to share that with you now. It should be appearing on your screens. And I'm just going to give you a minute or 90 seconds or so to participate in that poll. I should also say, as we go through the webinar, if you have a question or anything which isn't clear, then feel free to either raise your hand. There's a button at the bottom of the screen that allows you to do that, or put a comment in the chat feature, and we'll be monitoring that. Great. So I see some responses coming in. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to end the poll in 5 seconds, and then I will just share the results of that with you. In fact, I think everyone's participated. So I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. And hopefully you'll be able to see the results on your screen. So just looking at what people have said, of this group, it looks like quite a number of you regularly conduct and analyze surveys, and yeah, probably while you're on the webinar, a lot of you, well, all of you have answered that you're interested in exploring new survey tools. The response to the question, what's your biggest survey pet hate? Accessibility issues came up as the biggest pet hate there. Also, survey software being too expensive and something else. And in terms of what people hope to get out of the webinar, there, let's just have a quick look at that. Yeah, really to learn more about accessible surveys and to get an overview of the survey platform that we're offering. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to stop sharing that, and I will, before I share my screen and show you accessible surveys, I just want to give you a bit of context, so you know where the business has come from and where we are now. So Christoph and I have been working together for a number of years on developing an information management platform. Then in 2020, we were approached by IDA, the International Disability Network, which I suspect many people on the webinar will know IDA. And you may also be aware that IDA run a large global survey on a fairly regular basis to understand how organizations of persons with disabilities around the world are engaged and involved in decision making. And previously, IDA were using SurveyMonkey for that survey and having a number of issues, particularly around accessibility. So they were aware that Christoph and I had this information management platform. So we really started a collaboration with IDA back in 2020, where we built an accessible survey tool on top of our existing information management platform. And we did that by working really closely with IDA and IDA's members to really understand what they required in order for it to be accessible for them and for their members. And the key lesson, I mean, probably not that surprising, but the key thing we took away from that is different people have different requirements, and what's useful and accessible for one person is not necessarily useful or accessible for another. So therefore, right at the heart of our concept of accessibility is giving choice to the survey respondent so that they can access questions in a language and in a format that suits their requirements. And so you'll see what that actually looks like in practice when I share my screen. That collaboration with IDA is deep and ongoing. but we released accessible surveys under our own branding, the Accessible Surveys brand, a couple of years ago, and we at the moment we have a handful of first customers. We have about 15 customers at the moment running surveys on the platform. Some of those customers are quite small, others are pretty large. We have organizations like the Centre for Inclusive Policy. We have UNICEF. We have the Department of Education Ireland running surveys on accessible surveys. And as I said previously, we approach the whole area of accessibility with a great deal of humility, and we're committed to continually developing the platform and building partnerships to do that. Any questions at this stage about us as an organization or where we've come from before I share my screen and show you actually what the survey tool looks like? If you have a question, either ask it in the chat or put your hand up. Okay, if there's no questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and initially I'm going to show you what accessible surveys looks like from the perspective of someone responding to a survey. So if you're looking at my screen, if I've shared it successfully, you should see a page that says accessibility at the top. Christoph, could you just let me know whether you can see that? Great. Okay, so this is an example of a survey that we have created to find out about how organizations use surveys. And we've also used it as an opportunity to present the accessibility features that are present on the platform. So the page that you're looking at is our accessibility menu, and this is where from this menu respondents can choose how the questions are presented to them. This menu is also available at any stage within the survey from the accessibility settings icon at the top. So at the top right hand of the page, there is a accessibility icon. And if I clicking that, and I'm seeing the same accessibility options that are appearing on the menu. So I will briefly show you how these accessibility features work. So there's something called tooltips. So you can add definitions or explanations for more complex words. There's also the ability to change the theme or the contrast of your survey. There's the ability to change the size of the text. But there's also some options which I'm actually going to show you when we're within the survey itself. So there's the ability to have surveys presented in an easy read format. There's the abilities to have questions and options read aloud at a speed that survey respondents can choose. There's the ability to have sign language videos supporting questions, and the ability to leave voice memos to text-based questions rather than typing an answer on a keyboard or on a phone. So yeah, these can all be activated from this accessibility menu on the first page, but I'm going to click through to the next page to show you how those accessibility features work. So I've now gone through to the first page of the survey, which has some questions about how an organization uses surveys. And this is how a survey is presented without any accessibility options activated. I should say, when it comes to accessibility, obviously central to digital accessibility is compatibility with web accessibility guidelines to make sure in particular that people using screen readers can navigate through a survey in a logical and easy manner. So accessible surveys is compatible with those guidelines and has been tested with a wide range of screen readers, and it's continually tested. That's a little bit hidden. So what I'm showing you here is the some additional accessibility features. So the first question on this page is, does your organization run surveys? If I activate easy read mode now, the survey page that I'm looking at has been simplified somewhat. The text has been enlarged, and an image appears to the left of the picture, which helps reinforce the meaning of the question. So the question is, does your organization run surveys? And to the left of that question is now a picture of a survey. Also, when easy read mode is activated, the read aloud button also appears. And the read aloud, I'm going to press the read aloud button so you can see how that works for a survey respondent.
Does your organization run surveys? An answer to this question is required. Choose one answer from the following options. Option 1, yes. Option 2, no. Option 3, don't know or prefer not to say.
So there is quite a lot of choice over the read aloud, over the voice which is used for the read aloud feature. And I can show you that when I show you the back end in terms of how you'd go about creating a survey on accessible surveys. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to toggle off the easy read mode, and I'm going to activate the sign language mode. So with this survey, it's using British Sign Language, but it is possible to support a wide range of different sign languages, and you can have the sign language be dependent upon the language which is activated for the survey. Essentially, when sign language mode is activated, there is a sign language video which appears above the question, which the video is hosted on YouTube. But when it's activated, the sign language video will sign out the question and the options which are available. I'm now going to show you the last accessibility feature which I want to show you, which is the voice recording feature. So I'm going to activate the voice recording feature. What this does, this is applied to text-based questions, and it allows respondents to leave a voice message to a text-based question rather than type in their answer. So text questions appear with a record button, so there's a question here: which survey tool does your organization use the most? So if I press record there, the first time that a respondent selects record, they would need to give permission for the browser to use the microphone. But once they allow that, the platform will record any message, any answer that is provided to that question. And then when they press stop, that recording is automatically saved to the data set. There is the ability to listen back to it and re-record it if the survey respondent so chooses. As a survey builder, those audio answers are transposed into text and appear as text on the data set, along with a link to the original audio recording. So if the answer isn't that clear, the audio recording is available to be listened back. That's all the accessibility options that I want to show you today. There are just a couple of other things to mention about the experience for a survey respondent. I mentioned that it is a multilingual platform, so you can make your surveys available in multiple languages, and you don't need, you can, if you want, have separate survey links. You can generate separate survey links for each language, or alternatively, you can share a single survey link, and then the first time a respondent selects that link, a language menu will appear, and once the language has been selected, the survey will appear in that language. Another thing to mention is that the survey tool supports survey logic, so that you can have questions customized depending on answers to previous questions. So just to give you an idea of how that works, there's a question that I'm looking at here, and the question is, I am satisfied with my current survey tool, and the response options are strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, or neither agree nor disagree. So if I select agree here as an option, there's a follow-up question that appears. What do you like about the survey tool that you're using? Whereas if I selected strongly disagree, then the question would be, what frustrates you about the survey tool that you're using? So that just allows you to, you know, as a survey respondent, feel that the survey is a bit customized based on what they've already told you. I'm going to stop now. I'm aware I've done a lot of talking. I will give you a brief introduction to the back end, but before I do so, are there any questions that anyone has about the experience for a survey respondent? And again, feel free to either put up your hand and come off mic and ask the question, or alternatively, put your question in the comments field. Any comments or questions on anything that I've just shown you? Okay, I will. Great. Okay, thanks, Kurt. Good. Well, what I will do is I will share my screen again, and I will show you the back end of Accessible Surveys, so you can have an idea of how to create a survey. Great. Yeah, thanks for your comments, Kurt and Jamie. Yeah, good. So let me share my screen again. Sorry, I'm just going to get up the right page before I do that. Sorry, just bear with me. I just need to bring up the right browser. If you just give me 1 minute, be with you. Okay. I'm sharing my screen. You should be able to see the heading of the page should be Survey Workspace Test. Christoph, can you just confirm that you're seeing that? Great, thank you. So what this is the survey workspace for a test account that we have created on Accessible Surveys, and this shows all the different surveys that we have created ourselves. So I'm going to click into that first survey on the table, which is Survey Habits and Experience. So this is actually the survey that we've just been looking at from the survey respondent experience. So on Accessible Surveys, there's 3 main elements to a survey. There's a form, and a form is where you decide the questions that you want to ask, and it's where you would apply the language and the accessibility settings. And the majority of the work in creating a survey happens within the form editor. The survey editor controls all aspects of how you share or distribute a survey. So the main things there are you can create a landing page, which is can introduce your survey when a respondent first clicks on a survey link. And it's also within the survey editor settings, that's where you can generate your survey links. There's a link builder as part of that survey editor. The third element, which is probably the most interesting, is the analytics, and this is where you can see the submissions to your survey, and there's an interactive dashboard. You can get a good idea of what people are saying, and from there you can export your data for further analysis. So I don't have time to go into a great deal of depth here, but what I will do, I'll just give you a very brief overview of the main components. So starting with the form editor, I'm just clicking into the block on the right hand side, which is called the form editor. I see the structure of my form in a column on the left hand side of the page, and I can see the page structure of my survey. I'm expanding a page which is has the title of Survey Habits, and I'm selecting a question, and the question is, does your organization run surveys? When I'm now selecting a button on the bottom right of my screen, which is called Add Content, and from here I can now see some different question types appearing on the right hand side of my screen. So in order to build a form, you would create a page, add a section to a page, and then you can choose which questions you want to add. And it's really just a question of dragging and dropping the question that you want to add into the appropriate place in your form. Once you've added a question, you can get a bit of an idea of how it appears from the build mode, but there's an option in the top menu which says test. So if I click on test, I can really see how my form will appear to survey respondents. And so from here, I have a ribbon of different options. We call this a test ribbon. So this doesn't appear with a live survey, but it's pretty useful for testing a form. So from here, I can easily activate or deactivate different accessibility options, or I can change between different languages. So really just get a good idea of how my form is looking. Once I'm happy with my underlying form, I go back to the build mode in the top menu, and then on the left hand side there's a menu that says form behavior. So when I click that, this is really where as a survey builder you can choose which accessibility options you want to offer for your survey. So you can offer them all or just some of them. Really the choice is yours. As a survey builder. This is an example where all 4 accessibility modes are being supported by the form. So when I go back into the compose mode, I will see, and I'm again selecting that question, does your organization run surveys? Because I have activated some accessibility options for this form, I'm seeing some accessibility settings appearing in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. So the first one I'm selecting is Easy Read. So when I select Easy Read, I'm seeing the structure of the base of the underlying survey appearing in a column on the left-hand side. But then beside that, I'm seeing the survey structure of the Easy Read version of that form. And then because I've highlighted this question, does your organization run surveys? I can see that appearing here. The label for the question, does your organization run surveys? It is possible, if you want, to amend and have a different question in easy read mode. Best practice would be that the underlying survey should be made available in easy to understand language. So we wouldn't recommend asking different, altering the language there, but the option exists. There is also the option to upload a picture to support the meaning of that question. And the other accessibility modes, some of the other ones work in quite similar ways. So I'm coming off the easy read mode and I'm activating the sign language mode. And here I'm seeing, again, the structure of the survey in sign language mode. I can see the different languages which the survey is available in. So if I activate English, this is where I can enter a YouTube video, sign language video. I can put the reference for that video in that field there. And I can include a different video for Spanish or for French, so that different sign language videos appear when, depending on the language which is selected. I would then briefly show you how the read aloud mode works. So I'm selecting the read aloud mode. We've actually done quite a lot of, we've upgraded the read aloud voice quite significantly recently. Previously, the read aloud relied upon the browser supported text to voice functionality, which was good and still has some advantages, but the disadvantage is the voice sounds a little bit robotic. So now we have the ability to select a whole variety of different AI supported voices. In terms of the range, the choice slightly depends on the language which you're offering. So there's more choices of voices for English than there is for Irish, for instance, but there are a wide range of AI supported voices which are available. So if we go back to a question itself, you can choose which voice is used. So you can either have the default voice, which is the browser supported voice. There's the option to upload an audio file. So if you have someone recording your questions for you, they can provide those recordings in a audio format, which can then be uploaded here. There's the ability to record your own voice, or under generate. This is where you can generate basically use the AI provided voice, and you can also edit the text that is read aloud here if you want that to be slightly different from the question as it's precisely written. Very briefly, I'll just show you, it's also the language settings work in a similar way. So if I go onto the localized mode for this survey, I have a list of all the available languages which are supported for this program, and Spanish and French are activated. So from here, I have the option to auto translate the empty fields. And then that we would recommend that you got a translator or a native speaker of that language to review your survey before releasing it. But the auto translate feature gives you a head start on that. I think that's everything I want to show you around the form editor. I will very briefly show you the analytics page. And then open it up to some questions. So with the survey editor, there's really not an awful lot there, apart from that's where you can generate survey links. But I do want to show you the analytics briefly. So if I click into I'm clicking into the analytics field, and from here I can see all the submissions that have come in against this particular survey. So at the top of the page, I have some metadata, such as the location of the survey respondent, or the date that the survey was submitted, or the language it was submitted in. And then I also have the survey questions themselves appearing below, and the different pages of the survey on the left-hand side. What's quite nice here is that you can filter your data set based on any of the criteria which are made available on the dashboard. So if I just want to see submissions that have been received in 2024, I can select that from the submission date chart, and it filters out, and all the graphs just show me the 15 responses that have been received within that range. Or if I want to do that based on a country, a geographical location, or an answer to a particular question, that's available as well. So we don't claim this to be a full sort of data analytics package. You can't at the moment look at correlations between different questions, but what it does allow you to do is stay on top of who's responding to your survey in real time and get a good feel of what people are saying, and it can help frame some of the questions you might want to ask as part of your research. From here, you can also download the data set. You can export it for further analysis. Obviously, at that stage, data is coming outside of Accessible Surveys, which is a secure platform. So there's a privacy warning to make sure that people understand their responsibilities towards the data before they do that. But then they can export data into either JSON or CSV file. And there's some other options there in terms of the label type and the type of export. So yeah, that is a brief introduction to the back end of Accessible Surveys. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen again now, and just really open it up. Interested in your thoughts, responses to what you've seen. Very happy to take any questions. Over to you. And if you don't have any questions or thoughts, that's fine as well. We won't be offended. But now's your opportunity.
Hi, Jamie here.
Hi, Jamie.
Thank you so much. Hi, thank you so much for your presentation today. I really appreciate it. I actually don't have any questions. I've been through the website a few times, and so I am aware that there's a trial and a demo that we can kind of watch and check out, but that also there's support while we're going through that trial in actually creating an accessible survey. And that's kind of the next step for me. I'm looking forward to that. I have questions about cost, efficacy, and whatnot, depending on how I would utilize this, because in my implementation work, I do a lot of research project, but I do a lot of community level project as well. And one of the biggest concerns is always accessibility. But unfortunately, sometimes accessibility has a price tag to it.
Yeah.
So I'm genuinely looking forward to kind of checking it out and see how I could utilize this in my own practice. So thank you so much for that.
Great. Well, thanks, Jamie. That's really great to hear. And yeah, just to explain our approach to sort of customer support a little bit. Hopefully we've developed a product which is pretty easy to use, although we do recognize that it is a bit more involved than some other survey tools where it's just one survey. I mean, essentially you're creating a survey and then adding different layers to that survey. So there are a few different moving pieces to it. We do have some quite comprehensive online support and user documentation. And in fact, I should have shown you that as part of the demo, but essentially there's a series of tutorials which cover the main features of the platform, and then there's some more detailed how-to guides. But our experience of working with customers is the first survey that people create. There is a bit of a learning curve, but once they've done it once, because it's quite intuitive and it's quite responsive, and there is some online support available, people are able to create subsequent surveys pretty quickly and easily with minimal support from ourselves. So our approach at the moment is, yeah, essentially we would accompany you to create your first survey, so you're not wasting time, getting stuck. And then yeah, our experiences at the end of that, then you'll be pretty comfortable with running surveys independently on the platform. But yeah, so please do sign up, Jamie, for that trial, and I'll be delighted to support you with that. Great. Kurt, you don't have any questions? Oh, Kurt, you do have a question. Is this platform mobile friendly for individuals completing surveys? Yeah, the short answer for that is yes, it is. It's designed to be mobile compatible. I might hand over to Christoph for a more comprehensive answer to that question.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. Well, it's going to be a pretty short answers. Yes, it's mobile friendly. Actually, it's a web application, so we do not deploy applications specifically for mobile. So the application itself is going to be the same if you run it on a desktop or on a mobile, with the difference that the layout will be responsive. We are also pretty robust in terms of network intermittence. So if your network is not good, at some stage, it's going to be possible to use the tool. We're not completely there in terms of supporting the application when there is no network, but we are that is the plan for the next version, beginning of 2025, I would say. Maybe just one additional remark linked to the question of Jamie, and then I think Elizabeth has raised her hand. It's linked to the fact that inclusive data collection can take many different shapes or be happening in many different environments, and online survey is one of the environment that and this is clearly what we offer at this stage. But you might have a user group where you have people in a room all together. They're given instructions, and you might need to, for instance, collect additional metadata through the data collection exercise. So if you have that kind of requests or different requests, we also would be interested to know how best we can accompany you in that, because we have a lot of ideas for accessible surveys, but the way we want to direct the application is also coming from what people really need. Yeah, if you have special requests, please come to us as well.
Thank you so much, Christoph. I genuinely have interest, so I will be following up with you.
Great. So just before, Elizabeth, you've been waiting really patiently with your hand up. I will come to you. I just want to, Kurt, just clarify one thing around the experience of completing a survey on a mobile in areas with intermittent or poor mobile internet access. As Christoph said, it's not possible to fill in a survey if there's absolutely no internet access. But if a respondent is filling in a survey and then loses internet access halfway through a survey, they don't lose all their data. The answers that they have submitted are saved in real time. They get a message which is also announced to screen readers that they've lost the internet connection, and they're actually able to continue to fill in the survey, but the data won't be uploaded to the data set until their internet connection is restored. So it is, because we designed it with IDA and its members at the inception, that whole thing of needing to work well in rural areas with poor or weak internet access is quite fundamental to the inception of the tool. So sorry, Elizabeth, I won't hold you up for any longer. Please feel free to come off mic and ask your question.
Thank you so much. I work very closely with different entities, one being International Disability Alliance. So I had worked on your survey last year. I was very impressed by it. So I really wanted to say thank you for that. I do a lot of work on accessibility myself and data. So one of my questions is can you share the recording from today? Because I work with a lot of partners, including the UN, and they have an interest in this. And I think it'd be really important that they learn about this tool and we can share it. So if you'd be willing to share the recording, I can share it. And also, I'm gonna put on my advocacy hat for a minute. I'm sorry for this, but I'm part of the accessibility working group for the World Federation of the Deaf. I'm so pleased to see the sign language application, International Sign and others. Just wanted to flag, it should be British Sign Language, because the language piece is really important. It is International Sign, so that was correct. But any national sign language, you should add the language, just to flag that.
Yeah, thank you.
But thank you so much. This has been very helpful.
Great. Yeah. So yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, just two comments on that. Well, first of all, yeah, thanks so much for offering to share the recording. We really are at a stage where we're just starting to get the word out about accessible surveys, and the most powerful way of doing that is if people tell other people about us. So we'd really appreciate that. We'll certainly share the recording from today's meeting with you, and if anyone else would like that, then let me know. Also to say, yeah, thanks for that comment around British Sign Language. Yeah, it's we're learning all the time, and so yeah, we appreciate that that input. Thank you. Selena, you have a question regarding the handling of sign language interpreter requests referring to the different languages. So would you mind just elaborating on that question a little bit, just so I really understand what the question is? Either come off mic to do that, or provide a bit more guidance in the notes, if you wouldn't mind.
My daughter is running around, so you don't want to hear screaming. And so yes, basically just yeah, I guess it's similar to what Elizabeth said earlier, and let's say that we need to work with a different national language that has been requested. I see the focus is here on the British, which is obvious, but then how you would handle it, basically.
Yeah, no, it's a great question.
Yeah, just simply as it is, and I think I'm not really truly expert in this area, but I think that the blue background should be behind the sign language interpreter for the better visibility, but you may want to check this.
Okay.
Anyway,
Right. No,
so that's
thanks.
only because I know that sometimes, yes, international sign language interpretation or any other may be required. So probably things will develop over time, but simply, yeah, when things are requested, how one can deal with that. Yeah, that's all.
Great. No, yeah, thanks for that, Selena. Christoph, would you like to respond to Selena's question?
Yeah, I can very briefly. Well, the main idea with how surveys or forms are built is that we want to give as much flexibility to the people building the form as we can, meaning that in terms of how many sign language you would be allowed to utilize in your form, there is basically no real limitation. You would decide how many sign language you would need to use, which one, and then it's going to be your responsibility to do the interpretation or to find the right contact to do the interpretation and upload that on the form. We have contacts that you can provide you with if you need some help, but then that would be your responsibility. If does that answer the question?
Great. Yeah, Selena said, okay, clear, thanks. Great. Kurt, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, we would use a third party to provide the sign language video. It's not AI created.
Yeah, that's correct, Kurt. Yeah, you would use a third party to create those sign language videos for you. Then you would host them on YouTube, and then you would take the YouTube video reference and insert that in the relevant place on Accessible Surveys. We are at the early stages of exploring options around text to sign language, and yeah, talking with people who are experts in that area. Yeah, but that's not present and offered on the platform at the moment. And probably if we were to offer that, it will be a similar approach that we've taken with the read aloud voice. So there'll be several different options. But at the moment, it requires the services of a sign language translator.
Very good. Thank you so much. This has been a very informative and exciting training, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Kurt. Brilliant. Well, yeah, thanks so much for the active discussion and the questions today. I really appreciate it. Are there any other questions or comments that anyone would like to share before we leave? Great. Well, okay. Yeah, thanks again for joining today. And yeah, really happy to continue the conversations after the meeting. I will share the meeting link with I think it's Elizabeth and Jamie who's requested that, but Selena and Kurt, if you'd like that, very happy to share the recording with you. But thanks for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.